Good afternoon to everybody who just tuned in. You're listening to Radio Gold 90.5 FM. My name is Enyona Manyajete, Ghana's finest farmer. If President Mahama has not heard the name yet, tell him to tune in to Radio Gold. There's a lady called Enyona Manyajete, aka Ghana's finest farmer. The only finest farmer in the whole of Ghana. Wow, won't you come and challenge me. So today we're going to be having an insightful conversation. A very insightful one. It borders around agriculture. So if you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on LinkedIn, wherever you find yourself, on YouTube, just go and look for the Ghanaian Farmer. The Ghanaian Farmer TV. We have a lot of educational content for you to watch. If you plan on going to farming this year, then you need to educate yourself. It's very key so that you will be able to get it right from the word go. And today I have in my studios the managing partner of Farmer Global. He's in the person of Mr. Fred Kukubo. He's a consultant in the area of agriculture, agribusiness. Just call him and he'll be there to support you. Of course, he's a commercial farmer, a corporate man who diverted, I don't know if you cross over, into full-time agriculture. He does rice farming in the Volta region, and of course, he does some vegetables as well. And so today, he'll be taking us through how to position ourselves. The roadmap, Anne, the roadmap that we need to start the 2025 farming season. It's very important for young people who are going to go into farming for the first time. For those who have been in the farming for some time now, but are still figuring things out, navigating their way out, he would be helping you. For the diasporians, my good friends who live in abroad, who want to come down to Ghana and invest in agri, this program is for you. So you want to go on YouTube and listen as you're listening on radio. It's very important. So we're going to be talking to Mr. Fred Kukubo to tell us what should be the roadmap. First of all, what are his expectations, by the way, for the industry? And then what should be the roadmap? I'll let you in as callers to contribute, to ask questions. So, Mr. Kukubo, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Enyona.
You're most welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. How is Farmer Global?
It's doing well. It's pretty cool. I think that, in the world of agriculture or agribusiness, surviving is key.
Yeah.
I mean, surviving is winning. So, as long as we are still surviving and, producing food for homes and the general population at large, I think we are making quite some good positive strides.
Great. Farming, they say, is a very rewarding and significant venture.
Right.
However, that is without some head-ups, challenges, setbacks here and there. For you as a commercial farmer, an agribusiness consultant, how has the previous year been for you? What are your expectations for this year?
Right. Thank you very much. And I think that last year has been quite a challenging one, I must say. I think aside the basic challenges that confronts agriculture or general business industry, such as, getting access to finance and then even getting access to inputs as well and the affordability of those inputs, I think there were quite some natural disasters that actually confronted the industry. Key among them is the excessive drought we experienced last year. Yeah. That many more farmers, lost in terms of their production, particularly the smallholder farmers. And we saw what the interventions that has to be done, to sort of get them to bounce back to life in terms of their business livelihood. And so last year has been among the most challenging years for the agricultural industry, I must say. And then you'd also realize that, or you observe that the rainfall pattern indeed changed. Okay, whereas during the main crop season or the rainy season, you are expecting that the rain would actually come more. It delayed. I observed, personally, especially within the areas where we operate, where I saw a lot of farms got to almost their peak production, period. So if you take maize at the point of tasseling, then it's like the rains were not coming anymore, and so you see a vast land or stretch of maize farms just succumbing to the
drought.
The drought. So the rainfall pattern changed, which actually disorganized most of the farmers too as well. And I think the cost of input was also quite expensive. It was so most farmers could not afford the cost of inputs, or they actually used or had access to limited input to use based on their financial strength.
Yeah.
So I would say it's been very challenging, but then also quite fulfilling, despite the challenges we faced in the sector last year. We still see some farmers out there who haven't given up.
Okay.
They are still going back in there to produce, even if they are producing on a much smaller scale than expected. I think it's quite encouraging to see, because already the greater percentage of the farmer population, are adults. You get it, meaning that many more younger people are not into that sector, and so it would have been a disaster if the farmers had given up completely based on the shocks we experienced in the sector. So it's been challenging, so to speak, but also quite fulfilling, and we can only hope for the best for this year, trusting that things would work together, all good for the general farmer population.
Okay.
Perhaps with the new wind of government coming up, maybe that wind might turn things around, or would seek to improve or reinforce the effort that was done by the outgoing administration, so to speak. So it's been challenging but quite fulfilling, quite fulfilling too as well.
Okay, great. A lot of people have great expectations.
Yeah.
A lot of people, through the continuous education and breakdown of information, the interest has increased to go into farming. The new ones who are coming, those who have already done year one, going into year two, and many others who are planning one way or the other to join the value chain. But what should be the roadmap for 2025 for those new ones especially, who are looking forward to go into the space? Starting for you as a farmer, what is your roadmap for what you do?
Right. So maybe I would look at it, or let me start from the general, farmer population point of view, especially with the new trend of seeing many more young people. There are some few young smart guys who are coming into the industry. And they in fact they are very ambitious. Sometimes there are some of them I call overly ambitious, because sometimes when you listen to them and you want to understand the motive or the mindset for going into farming, I mean, you'll be blown away. So meaning that the expectations are really, really very high. But I mean, to start with, the key thing for me, I would always say, for any person who is looking at going into agribusiness or agriculture this year, they should first of all challenge the assumptions of the sector, irrespective of the crop or the area you want to put your money into, or you want to go into the agribusiness. You need to challenge your assumptions. Very, very important. In other words, you need to do a lot of research. Okay? Don't just make an assumption of the industry, or everyone eats maize, or let's say kenke or banku or fufu, so I want to go into maize production, because at the end of the day it will be bought. That is an assumption you are making, right? I mean, it's good to know that, but you need to challenge the assumptions and make further research and widen your scope of engagement with those who are already in the sector, to get critical informations that would help you, or critical data that would help you to make a well-informed decision. There's a saying that the devil is always in the details. So if you challenge your assumptions and then you do your research well and wide, then you would get critical data that would help you to make a better decision making. Then when you're able to cross all those, check all those pointers, then you can move to the next step. So first of all, challenge your assumption. The second thing I would like to talk about, or I would like to say, has to do with having this mindset of how do you call it? Yes, be ambitious.
Yeah.
I mean, dream big, but start small.
Okay.
Okay, there is you can always have more or produce more with less. Back then, or for some of us, when we started, the ambition was there. Okay, of course, where the resources are, you could go all out and go large scale. But it's important that as a startup, as a starter or a startup, young person or farmer who wants to go into this business, you need to start small. Irrespective of the resources, you may have all the monies and all the networks, but please start small, okay, and gradually grow through it. So if you start small, it will be like a pilot. Okay, if your ambition is to do, let's say, 1,000 acres of cassava, you have the money. No, that is not in doubt. Okay, you may also have the market. That is not in doubt. But I tell you what, when you get on the ground, the dynamics are completely different. Right. So if you do not have that experience already, and you now really want to go into it because you may have done your research, like I said, as the first thing to look at, and you have the financial resources, no matter what, if it's 1,000 acres you want to do, just consider starting with just about 10% of the 1,000 acres resources, and let that be a learning point for you. Right. Then you would get to pick up the unique dynamics on the ground. The challenges we face in the agricultural sector, even if we are all doing a monocropping, let's say we are all doing the same type of cropping, differ per jurisdiction you find yourself.
Exactly.
The traditional systems there would definitely confront you, and the traditional authorities or the traditional systems differ as well. So whereas maybe you go to, let's say, in the Ashanti region, you assess your land, and land authority of land is vested in the paramountcy or the traditional chiefs. In Volta region, for instance, the authority of land is vested in family heads. Are you getting it? So you can't just make a blanket decision and just go all out. You need to experience the dynamics on the ground. Certain norms over there would also confront you. I think one of our peers who was into goat farming faced a similar challenge, and he had to relocate. Are you getting? So these dynamics are there. In his case, it wasn't about lacking funds per se or lacking markets per se, but certain fundamental traditional dynamics, disrupted his production or his business, and he had to kind of start all over again. So that's why it's important, I say, that you can produce more with less. Okay. And then the third thing I would like to talk about is for you to resist being an expert.
Okay.
For 2025.
Right.
Irrespective of your skill set. Okay. Resist being an expert. In other words, open up for more learnings.
Right.
Okay. Because if you do that, okay, I'm an agronomist.
Yes.
Yeah, I read agriculture in school, or I did my internship here, or what have you, or there and there. No matter how much you know, humble yourself based on the unique ecosystem you find yourself, and then pick up more intelligent information that would impact your expertise.
Okay.
So resist being an expert.
Right.
It doesn't mean, excuse to say, you should be dumb, be smart.
Yeah.
Right. But resist being an expert and open up. And from a personal experience, some of my greatest lessons I've picked up in this journey has come from, quote unquote, people who are basic. Common people. It didn't come from the most wide-read people, the most intelligent people you would perceive them to be. But I spoke with indigenous people who may not have even stepped into schools, right, into the classroom. They didn't go high within the academic ladder. Some of them just went to O-level or primary, and that was it. And these are older people, village folks I spoke with. I got intelligent information from.
Right.
And it really did help it to impact my journey. So, as I said, the third is that you resist being an expert and open up as much as possible. For me, these are fundamentals you need to know and you need to have.
Right.
Then, maybe the fourth thing I would like to talk about would be for you to have mastery over the markets where you want to go into. Right. People again make assumptions of the markets. Okay, you need to make sure that at the end of the day whatever production you are going into, you have a certain percentage of control over the market.
Okay.
If you produce or you go into the business, it could be production, it could be processing, it could even be a technology inclusion you are bringing on board. And you are thinking that, oh, the market will pick it up, the farmer folks will pick it up, the industry will pick it up. You would be making a big mistake.
Okay.
Make sure that you necessarily have a certain minute percentage of the market that will be willing and ready to offtake or pick your produce.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Great.
For me, these 4 fundamental things are necessary. To start with, I always say that to succeed in this industry, the first thing you need is to have control of a market. Trust me, else you might really mess up your industry or your business.
So I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I had mentioned some of these figures, and then we touched briefly on it with Mr. Benjamin Kessie from KIC, and then Barnabas, Barnabas from HBP. But I'm going to pick some of the figures again, some of the things that feature in our daily meals. And rice, for instance, there's about $800 million is what we use to import rice into Ghana. However, when you look at tomatoes, we use about $100 million from our neighbors here, Burkina Faso. That is how much Ghana spends to go to Burkina to go and bring in tomatoes for us to consume. And then when we look at something around, let's say, poultry and meat, we also use about $400 million. This is a map or some kind of research done by Graphic Business, but they give credit to Ghana Trade Advocacy Network. Now, as a farmer, when you hear these figures, how worrying is it? Especially with rice. Somewhere 2019, we launched a campaign that everybody jumped on it. Eat Ghana rice, do this and do that. What happened to the campaign? And what happened to the rest of the commodities? I brought some Nigerians to your farm some time ago, and they were like, Ghana, you people have big land. So what is happening? Why are you not cultivating the land? 2025, what should be the roadmap to reduce our imports?
Yes, I mean, when I hear these figures, I get very disturbed, to be honest, because in terms of resources, or natural resources, I don't think we are inadequate. I don't think we are so much limited. Okay, so we have what it takes to actually transform the sector as much as possible and reduce the level of importation for some of these staples or food crops, food you have mentioned. So I get really disturbed. I mean, in the Volta region, for instance, or the Southern Belt, we see most of our rivers, the Volta River, for instance, go all the way back into the sea. But, with that level of resource there, which water is a critical thing for, irrigation is a critical thing for farming, you would want to, or you would thought that we would tap into that resource and use and develop it the most so that we can, transform the sector, so that we can also reduce the importation that we are seeing. Rice, for instance, Ghana as a country, we consume nearly 1.3 million metric tons of rice every year.
Wow.
In fact, the last time I checked the data, it was the level of the importation for rice was around $500 million. I'm not too surprised that I'm hearing $800 million. And it's true, it's possible, because last year or 2 years back into last year, the rice sector, for instance, was also confronted with a lot of challenges. Okay, so that $800 million, imagine that worth of money being used to invest in the rice sector of this country. That would be a massive transformation. You get it? So I think that we need to be very intentional this year. I'm trusting that the incoming administration would pick certain key staples that the country consumes. Ghanaians, we consume a lot of carbohydrates, and rice is key. One of the key, grain we do consume.
We eat on daily basis.
If you look at the map of Ghana, taking into account the various regions, there is an element of carbohydrate being eaten. Up north, there is a millet, there is a sorghum, and what have you, the maize or the corn, and the rice. So these major staples, we should be able to identify them, select them, and be intentional and develop that value chain so well. Just like we've seen in the advanced countries, Why is China, Vietnam, US being known for, and India being known for, as the major importers or exporters of rice? It's because they were intentional.
Okay.
Maybe perhaps the way we've done, just like the way we've done it for cocoa, right? So we have a Ghana Cocoa Board.
Yeah.
We've been intentional about it. We can do similar models for the staples, the grains. We have the Grain Council, the Grain, and all that. So we just have to be intentional about that approach as a country. Yeah, I'm talking from the country level, the governmental level, and develop that and develop the infrastructures for massive production. Okay, and I think that such approaches would help to generate a lot of opportunities or employment opportunities for the mass unemployed young people in that sector or in the rural areas. So imagine that we are damming most parts of Volta region.
Right.
The Volta Basin, for instance. The Central Tongue, the North Tongue, the Tongue area. Was it last year or 2 years ago when the dam spillage caused so much devastation to date? We are still feeling the pains of it. So imagine that spillage has been developed such that even from up north, the white Volta, the black Volta, all ends up into the Volta Lake. Are you getting it? So from up north to the middle belt to where all these lake and these rivers get to, we could be damming it. If you go to the deal, that's what we see.
Right.
I was in Asia some time back, right? And then I traveled for nearly, I traveled for nearly 12-hour journey, traveling from one city to the other, specifically in Indonesia some time back. And if you move from a city called Jakarta, which is their capital, to another big city called Makassar, look, you would see that the government of Indonesia has been very intentional about rice production.
Okay.
They have dammed all that journey. You will see the canal systems well laid out. You see, so when you do it that way as a government, then the local people, the people will begin to now find value for now going into farming. Are you getting it? And we need to consider doing something like that until such infrastructures are put down, are done intentionally. Okay, for the benefit of the bigger population, particularly our rural folks where these tributaries or the canal systems could be done, it will generate self-initiatives. Okay, if you go to other European countries like Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and all, we go there, we see what they do. They are being very intentional with their infrastructure development. So for me, from the governmental level, we need to focus, the incoming government need to really focus on improving the infrastructure system as far as irrigation is concerned. I'm happy the incoming president has also mentioned about agribusiness. We are looking forward to that, and where he's looking at setting up more like a service center, where mechanization will take, these are brilliant ideas. The challenge we've had as a country has always been implementation and getting the right skill set of people to actually manage these kind of innovative, creative ideas. Some of these things we hear our politicians say, it's not like they are new. Most development partners have implemented projects that they have done a lot of work, and they have success stories. So government could connect with most of the development agencies and those of us in the private sector who are on the ground, who have something to prove, to show. If you call on us, we'll be happy to share ideas and support as to how this could be managed well and better for the bigger population or for the general good of the economy. Now, if you move from the governmental level to the individual or to the entrepreneur, what you also need to do, for me, is that you need to as well what I call you need to identify the key resources you will need for this year. Okay. One key thing that I think we need to accept and understand that agriculture can no longer be successful, especially for those going into production without irrigation. Because the dynamics have changed. Whoever thought that at this time of the year you would even expect rain to come? You get it? Hello, we are in January. But somewhere last week there were some pockets of rain going on.
I went to Ayen's one. I was coming back and the whole place was flooded.
And some part of Volta region it rained. In South for instance, last week it rained heavily in some part of that area. Are you getting it? So the dynamics are changing. So if you really want to be successful this year, especially if you're looking at going into production, you need to think about irrigation. Irrigation is not only having access to a dam or a river. You can build your own irrigation system in a more smart way that is environmentally friendly, clean energy systems
Okay.
that you could still get your irrigation system
Great.
from.
So I think you are already zooming into what I wanted to touch on, which is setting achievable goals.
Right.
We've looked at your overview of last year. We've looked at the expectation. We've talked about the roadmap. Now we need to look at achievable goals.
Yeah.
So this is still the Ghanaian Farm on Radio Gold 90.5. My name is Enyonam Manye. Go on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on X or Twitter. I get interactive. We are discussing the roadmap for sustainable agriculture in Ghana. Of course, we touch on how to reduce our import, because the money we are spending to import is just, unimaginable. And Mr. Fred Kukubo from Farmer Global, managing partner from Farmer Global, is helping us to break down the issues and then, put some pointers in place and see how we can navigate our way around. So for me as a young farmer, and for every other person who is out there, especially those who are in the diaspora who want to go into farming, what are these achievable goals that you would recommend we put in place, we put down, becoming agripreneurs or becoming entrepreneurs in this space, being it food production, being it farming itself, being it value addition? What should be the achievable goals? What should be the aims and objectives that we are going to, pursue the year with?
Yeah, I think there are quite a lot we can talk about. So maybe I would start from, or maybe segment it into the various arenas in terms of the trade areas.
Right.
So if you take crops, for instance, or livestock or fisheries. But maybe let me generalize it. So first of all, you need to look at focusing on climate smart agriculture.
Okay.
I think I've said a lot about the fact that the dynamics have changed.
Yeah.
And there's a new trend. You need to adopt practices that actually improve resilience to climate change. Okay. So in that case, you are looking at certain innovative approaches such as, conservation agriculture, regenerative agriculture. I mean, these are new technologies or new innovations that are climate friendly, so that you don't disrupt the ecosystem of the soil, for instance, or you don't expose your crops or your production to adverse weather condition. So you need to read wide about some of these innovative technologies that have been proposed as climate smart or climate friendly agriculture. Maybe the second thing we need to look at, from my last comment, is irrigation systems.
Exactly.
Which we need to invest in efficient irrigation to ensure year-round farming. Vegetables, for instance, is something that for me, I feel that where the opportunity exists or the capacity is, we should not fall short of vegetable production. You just mentioned about the level of importation. For tomatoes, for instance. And I feel like, come on, certain veggies like tomatoes and pepper or chili, our paposhito and all that, we should be able to produce them.
We should be able to
produce them. Are you getting it? But it depends on, it calls for irrigation systems like this. And we are in the, I would say we are in the dry season already. So again, then very few farmers will be able to produce vegetable because they depend solely on the rain. Okay, so we need to have smart systems in place as far as irrigation is concerned. And then soil health. Soil health is one area that many farmers overlook. We assume that, once the soil looks dark, it's okay.
It's fertile.
It's fertile, and you're good to go. But back then, in my first degree, back in college, I had a very interesting lecturer who always would say that, hey, guys, a productive soil is not necessarily a fertile soil.
Okay.
Are you getting it? If you study that concept, it means that you need to understand the soil structure, the soil texture. Do some tests. On the soil, so that you are doubly sure of the nutrient holding capacity of the soil, and of course how the water holding capacity of the soil would look like. So soil health is very important. Also, crop variety, improved crop varieties. Okay. Using high yielding and resilient crop types. Most of our farmers, or most often than not, we like doing second or third generation production, meaning that we are falling on our first generation seed, harvest to replant and all that. All these is impacting negatively on yield.
Okay.
And then once yield is impacted negatively, it means your revenue will be impacted as well. And then you're going back to ground zero.
You see the start, we have to talk about it well. Back in the days, my father, the maize they harvest, they will keep some. And then the next season, they will plant.
Yeah.
They also have bumper, yield, and then replant it. By this day and age, this new generation farmers, you will see that don't replant the old seed. Go and buy another one. We would have to go proper into that.
Exactly.
Look at the pros and cons, the disadvantage and the advantage of yes,
that,
exactly.
Exactly. Most of our research stations, anytime I get a platform like this, I talk about research stations, CRI, SARI, CSIR. They've done fantastic jobs. They've done recently, I think, was it CSIR and one of the research stations introduced a new cassava variety. That you can get yellow.
Yes,
cassava,
yes. University of Cape Coast and then
UCC. These are really good ideas. But the question is, how is research being placed at the doorstep of farmers?
Right. There's a gap.
There's a gap
in communicating.
And secondly, also the affordability of some of our local seeds. Okay. So it's one thing to have accessibility to a particular resource, and it's another thing altogether to have to be able to afford. Okay. It's like seeing a very beautiful house and you're like, Charlie, I rent or a car. Maybe Tesla. You've seen it, but can you afford it? It's a question of
That's the question. All right, so folks, that's Mr. Fred Kukubo. This is the Ghanaian farmer. I'm going for a quick breather. When I come back, you can also get into the conversation. So, Mr. Fred, you were mentioning some of the goals that we need to put in place before the season itself start. You've mentioned a couple of them. Hello?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is John.
Yes, John, let's hear from you.
We heard of the program. I want to connect, and even today I'm late, but I've just catch a little bit where trying to talk about don't rely on rain-fed agriculture, but then you should do irrigation. My question is the borehole. Sometimes you drill the borehole and the water is short. How do you go about that? Because it's capital intensive.
I know.
The land, but then still we drill and that is what we get.
Okay. Thank you very much. We would answer that for you. Our time is almost up, but I need you to round up the conversation.
Right.
I need you to put, bring some conclusion to it. That in the year 2025, for everybody who wants to go into farming, for those who are already in that space, the little secret that has kept Farmer Global in the business up until now, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that we need to transition our mindsets from a mindset of, farming. I mean, just farming to agribusiness, or transitioning. A friend of mine put it this way: transitioning from the mindset of agriculture to agribusiness. Until the element of business comes in, you are pretty much just doing a leisure. It's like a leisure work, or you are just doing a subsistence farming just for home, right? So if you really want to have value for money, then you need to have that agribusiness mindset to actually succeed or triumph this year. This year is going to be quite challenging again. I mean, whenever there is a transition of government, it takes the incoming government some time to stabilize.
Exactly.
Okay, so there will be a crossover, so to speak, of the challenges, or a spillover of the challenges
from 2024
into 2025, maybe to the first half of 2025. So before the income administration will be more stabilized and we begin to see some iota of hope or some breather, we will still go through a bit of fire and to sharpen. So we just need to brace up and think smartly and have that agribusiness mindset and have certain level of control over the market, and more importantly, monitor your production or monitor your business. Don't be an absentee farmer. Before I entered into this, the agribusiness journey, I spoke with people who were already into it, and there was one remark that one man in Afram Plains told me. He said, look, Fred, to succeed in this business, he said, and I'm trying to requote him, he was like, your footprint, okay, would be the success of your business, meaning that you have to show up as much as possible. If you are not present with your business, forget it. I mean, you not meet your expectations, right? So don't just leave your business into the hands of people and think that, oh, I can be in Accra and all that. So it's two things.
Right.
It's either you have the expertise or the competency, okay, to do the job, and show up, be there and do the job, or you know where to get the competence to get the job done for you. Even that, you need to put in a lot of measures to monitor. In today's day and age, technology is really big. It's a buzzing word now, right? So you can take advantage of technology to aid you to monitor and put in place smart systems or devices that can give you up-to-date information of how your business is faring. If you are into, let's say, equipment rental for the agricultural sector, you can how do you call it, GPS, put a GPS, SIM to track all your fleet of equipment or vehicles or equipment like your tractors, your combine harvesters or threshers. I mean, anything that is mechanical, you can track it actually. And from your phone, a smart device, you can get to see the rate of work done, the journey, the rate of work done, and the size and all that. Okay, so technology inclusion has to really be also very key. So as I indicated, in summary, I would say that the success of your farm enterprise or your agribusiness is your footprint.
Okay.
Secondly, have an agribusiness mindset.
Right.
In other words, shifting from the agriculture mindset to agribusiness mindset.
Like Dr. President Mahama said.
Yeah, exactly. And then thirdly, technology inclusion. Right. And then let me also say this. You don't necessarily have to be an agronomist or to read agriculture in a university or training college or wherever in order to get into the business. You can come in just the way you are.
As a novice. And
as a novice with your unique expertise. Look, and when you came into the scene with this Ghanaian farmer, drive, I mean, we have all benefited. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if you read agriculture. I know you're a journalist.
No.
But there are wealth of knowledge and exposures you have now that you are even better placed to equally better placed to advise someone who wants to go into agriculture. So you can come in with that unique expertise. If you are IT savvy, come in with it. We are calling on you. If you think you have a certain wild marketing skill, please come in with it.
Right.
Okay. If you're a good transport person or organizer, whatever they call it, come in with it. Welder, come in with it. The market is big.
Okay.
Agriculture is doing so well in developed countries. I mean, the Europe, the Asia, simply because there is a bouquet of different unique skill sets that have come together to make it work, including the financial institutions. Okay. You might be a financial expert. Come in with it. Build a system. Propose it to the industry. Okay. QuickBooks and all that for accounting systems, unique for agriculture.
Right.
Something similar to like that. And I'm telling you, if you challenge your assumptions and do your research and you connect with the stakeholders, they would buy into that unique idea and you get a job. Be a job creator and not a job hunter. The agricultural sector is wide and big. Thank you.
That's it. That's what I've been waiting for. Be a job creator and not a job seeker. If you're an IT person, think of how you can, introduce your IT into the agriculture business. If you're an investment banker, you are a corporate person. Because agriculture is not for the uneducated. Agric enye nkrofo enye hiafo dia enye emrewafo ne nkokrafo eye mmebunu te say yen ene ebeye akwadwumo no amana yeye. This is the Ghanaian farmer. My name is Anyona Manye. When you see me in town, call me Ghana's finest farmer. Today, I had the privilege of having a conversation with the managing partner of Farmer Global. He's in the person of Mr. Fred Kukubo. He's an agribusiness consultant. And if you want to go into farming, go to LinkedIn, Twitter, all the places you see Farmer Global. And I type in Fred Kukubo. Ubehunu woho na enini din kombo obebo kama na ejuma na eden akwenim na ye kama. And you can go on YouTube and also join us. Please answer na mekono Ghanaian farmer ye sponsorship, ye partnership, bankers, food companies, feed people, Muamuton feed, fertilizer, seed, come and be a partner on this program. So pesa won't sponsor yena. Ubetimi afre 0553 048331 055 0554 830431. I'll take it again 0554 830431. Frame so pesa wonya sponsor dia wuye bia so wutonsuo dia wuye bia bra na be kan ye ho na radio gold ye ma ye time ni bin kan because ye time ni swa na ye ndi nkomo ne ma ne che afen so ye kan sa radio gold ni Ghanaian farmer ye be agritourism. Mr. Fred Kukubo say wo kon ne farmer or be 100 acres 200 acres or ye emu or ye vegetables mamene wonko na ko hu Fred Kukubo face to face question bia bisane bi nti sa wo pese woni ye be ko sa agritourism na so wonko sua de wonko hu de omoye bi so mo question no yiwa no on kire okwan a wo fa so obedu mpempen so yi obetimi a friend number ya me free ya 0554 830431 ye be ma o t-shirt ye be ma o ye kan say we a ye de numu nsuo diary a wo be trotro mu aduane na ye be didi atena ye condition bas mi akosua de wo fom na ya samba frame na ye ne wo entu sa na mo no na yen travel around the country yen ko hu ekuafo ni edwuma pa omo ye wan te me kan ene ye woni da sende bye bye.